Hey guys, welcome to today's video. I am sharing my emergency C-section story. If you're not from my channel, my name is Haley. I am now a mom to 5. This is my first C-section and it turned out to be an emergency C-section, and I just want to share my story with you because this was not my birth plan. This was not what I thought was gonna happen, so I want to share my experience with you, shine a light on C-sections in general, just share my story. My baby is 3 weeks old, so I'm about 3 weeks postpartum, still learning how to handle myself post C-section, trying to still stay rested and not move so much, just learning to be still and gentle with life and everything around me. As with every pregnancy, every birth story is different. I have notes, so if you see me looking down or anything, I'm trying to remember what to tell you and share bits and pieces of that. So first off, I want to share about my pregnancy and my original birth plan. So for this pregnancy, this one was totally different. I had major body pain, major back pain, pain down there whenever I would walk. It was very different and sort of difficult. I don't want to say I didn't enjoy my pregnancy, but I'm very thankful I was able to carry this baby to term and we all ended up healthy and safe. This is our last baby, but if God blesses us with more children, we will take them with open arms and be thankful and blessed. So I had a very detailed and what I thought was a beautiful birth plan. I typed it up. I never had a birth plan or typed up anything before with my others. This one I wanted some specific things, like after the baby was born, I wanted my husband to hand me the baby, not a nurse or a doctor. Just a few little special moments to have since it was going to be our last one. I'm going to talk about the labor timeline and how everything progressed from labor to ended up having emergency C-section. So I'm going to talk about whenever contractions started, or what I thought wasn't contractions and how it started. I woke up very early Saturday morning around 2 and I started getting a lot of back pain. I never had any back contractions. It was really bad back contractions that was painful. I never had that with my other one, so I just thought it was just back pain from the pregnancy because I had back pain all throughout, so I thought it was just I was sleeping bad or it was just another day with back pain. Well, from 2 to 6 it was progressing and getting stronger, and it was just all in my back. So I would get up in the middle of the night or early in the morning. I would get up, walk around and just breathe, change positions. My husband kept asking me if I wanted to go to the hospital. I said no, I don't want to go unless there's like a bloody show or, you know, my water breaks. So I kept going back to sleep and waking up, but at 6 o'clock I remember waking up and just sitting on the sofa, laying in a child pose in my bed, trying to do things, getting up and using the bathroom. Well, from 6 to 7 I didn't go back to bed. I told my husband, look, it was 7 o'clock. I said, we need to go to the hospital. It's just very uncomfortable. I'm in pain. Let's just see what they say. Because I didn't want to go to the hospital and then they sent me back home and they said it was nothing. So at 7 o'clock we got to the hospital, or we left the house at 7. Got to the hospital around the 7 o'clock hour. We got to the hospital, checked in. The security guard called in for me a wheelchair. They wheeled me up to the the area where they check you before you go to the labor and delivery room. I'm not sure what it's called. So that's whenever things started going downhill, in my opinion. I never want to sound ungrateful as I share my story, but these are my feelings, and this is how I felt in the moment. This is my story, so take it or leave it. I just think once I got in that room, everything started going downhill and nothing was my way from there. I peed in a cup. I was able to leave a sample, got in bed, was having very strong contractions, and I wasn't dilated much, maybe two-ish. On the monitor they were getting stronger and stronger, but even though I wasn't dilating, after they checked me and did all that, they wanted to start an IV, and they could not find a vein in any of my arms. So they finally got one in my right arm. I still kind of got like a little bruise. I'm gonna show you pictures of my bruises on both my arms, and I'll explain why. But they finally got an IV in my right arm. I was severely dehydrated, and I don't know why, because I ate so much ice and drank so much water the months leading up to this day. My contractions getting stronger. They finally admitted me because they were realizing that I was in the beginning stages of labor. They wheeled me to my labor and delivery room. I had this sweetest nurse, so kind and caring. I think I'll remember her forever. We talked when we went over my birth plan. I signed paperwork saying if something severely goes wrong, I'll have a C-section. I signed the paper saying yes, I want blood in case something happens. Two other paperworks I signed, like the medical, like I agreed to this stuff, yada yada. Once we were all settled in our new room, I told my husband before he knew this, but I told him that as soon as we get there, I want the epidural. I don't care how many centimeters I am, I want it. And I wanted to get the epidural early because my body just had so much pain throughout the pregnancy. I just wanted like relief of not feeling anything. So I was maybe like 2.5, 3 at this point, but my contractions were just so strong even though I wasn't dilating. I got the epidural. I finally had some relief. Well, I had a fever, like a low-grade fever, but it was like a little concerning to them because nobody in my family or around was sick, so they were uncertain why I was having a fever. My heart rate was kind of high. The baby's heart rate was kind of high. They monitored that for a while. Well, they said let's break your water and see if it'll help the baby's heart rate. So they broke my water. It helped the baby's heart rate steady out for like 5 minutes tops. Well, after they broke my water, she was still monitoring me and the baby's heart rate. She was telling me that I was having a contraction, and then once my contraction was ending, the baby's heart rate would drop so low that it was very concerning, and that we might have to end up doing a C-section. And I'm just crying because that's not my plan. That's not what I wanted. Not that there's anything wrong with a C-section, I just didn't want that for me and my body and having to deal with the process, because obviously before I had 4 children, I did Google and learn things about C-sections, and it's just not something I wanted. As the nurse was telling me, hey, we have to have a C-section, the doctor comes in, the nurses come in, the anesthesiologist comes in, and she puts the stronger medicine to help numb my body completely. The other nurse throws on the surgical outfit that the dads wear, they all wear. I know my husband is secretly having an anxiety attack, but he was so calm because he knew that I didn't want to have a C-section. He didn't want to put no more fear on me, and I'm still just bawling, crying. So he's getting ready while they wheel me out. As they wheel me out, my chair here, my bed hits the door frame, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So they wheeled me to the OR room, and it's just so bright. Everything is white in there. There is literally like 50 people in there, and they're just counting down. I remember them counting down. They said I had 30 seconds left, and I feel them rub something on me. Then my husband's able to come in. He's in his gown, his suit thing. He holds my left hand, and the curtain's draped over me already, so we're not seeing anything. And I'm still crying. And I just feel a lot of, I don't feel any pain. I just feel like somebody touching, and like just, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of touching and like pressure. No pain. I don't know how to describe it. But not long after, they pulled the baby out. She was healthy. She's crying. They put her over the drape, and I literally had no thought or emotion at that time. It sounds sad to say, because like your baby's born and you feel joy and everything, but my body was like literally numb, mentally, physically, and I was thankful she was born and healthy. So after they took her to the back of the room where they observed her, they called Dad over. He went check on her, and I'm just laying there. He comes, sits back down with me, and on the other side, once he sits back down with me, he says my hand starts getting, I don't know if he said cold or sweaty, or I don't remember what he said, but he noticed and he looked at me and he knew something was wrong. I remember me laying down and then looking up to my right side and telling the anesthesiologist, like, my ears are ringing. And I knew that wasn't good, because when my ears ring, sometimes that means I'm about to pass out. I just feel like lightheaded. Then the nurse says, hey Dad, let's take the baby to the other room. And at this point I'm like still crying, and I'm getting very more emotional because my husband's leaving me. And next thing I know, they needed to start another IV. So they're starting another IV on my left arm where my husband used to be. And like I said earlier that morning, they could not find an IV, so they're still trying to they couldn't find a vein, so they're trying to find a vein in my left arm, not knowing why. So they're still trying to find a vein in my left arm, can't find it. At this point, I'm just physically drained, mentally exhausted. I can't process nothing because everything just literally happened so fast. Like, I didn't have time to think or prepare my mind or body whenever they said, hey, emergency C-section time. Everybody just moves so fast. They pricking me in a spot to get a vein. It didn't work. They pulled it out, pricked me in the same spot, like literally 5 times throughout my arm. I remember they're looking right here in my underarm, closer to my boob area, and I just start crying. Nurses come look at me and say, hey, everything's okay, you're going to be fine. They finally got an IV, but that one really hurt because it hurt throughout the next couple of days I was at the hospital. They're starting blood on this arm, not realizing what they're doing. They have fluid in this arm, so that's going at the same time. Well, apparently I lost like 3,000 cc's of blood, and I didn't realize that until I was back in my labor and delivery room. Once they stitched me up, they inflated my bed and put me back on my other table, and then they wheeled me out. What's surprising is that, like, your body just goes through this major surgery, and then all of a sudden they moving you to the next bed and going back to your room like nothing happened. I'm not saying that's what they said or felt, but I'm saying that's what I felt. Like, all of a sudden, like, you just go through the surgery and 2 seconds later you're back in your room like nothing happened. I'm back in my room. I'm laying flat on my bed. My sweet nurse that was here from the beginning is on my right side, charting things down at the computer, talking with me, staying there. Then they have this other nurse who is giving my blood, checking everything, switching out the plasma in the blood bags. And then my husband is at the feet of my bed but a distance away, and he doesn't have the baby. And I just glance at him. I just glance at him a few times and I can't stare at him. And I'm still crying at this point because, one, what just happened to me, I still had no time to process it. I'm just staring straight up at the ceiling. I feel guilty because I wasn't the first one to bond with my baby. Even though my husband was able to hold her first and all that other stuff, I'm grateful. Like I said, these are just my emotions and how I felt that day. Obviously, I'm still teary-eyed about it, but everything's okay now. I'm grateful that they had that time together first. My baby wasn't there whenever I got back in the room because they took her to the wellness area, make sure she was okay because her heart rate did drop. She didn't stay in the NICU or anything like that. They did bring her back not long after I got back to my room. Now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the recovery in the hospital and what was it like for me. I bought all the vaginal delivery things. I bought a certain herbal medication type thing that I was gonna use because once you have more children and if you're breastfeeding, your uterus contracts back, and if you get an epidural, it fades away fast. I did not end up using that because once I got the C-section medicine, I don't know what it's called, but it's stronger than the epidural. My whole body was literally numb. The first day, in the middle of the night, the first day leading up to half of the second day, so I did not feel no contractions at first. I didn't have really any pain because the numbness was just there. I had a lot of trouble breastfeeding at first because I think we delivered freshly around 37 weeks. I lost a lot of blood that day, so my milk did not come in, so I was kind of sad about it, and I really wanted to breastfeed and couldn't feed my baby on top of everything else that was still happening. Everything was just still going downhill, so we did supplement with a little bit of formula to help. Walking after that, I say in the hospital wasn't that bad because I was heavily I was on a lot of medication, so I think that helped with the pain. And walking, it wasn't that bad. It was just really when I got home. I talked about breastfeeding challenges. Now I'm gonna tell you about now that I'm home. I stopped the medication once I got home after a couple of days because I didn't want to be relying on heavy medication. I wanted nobody to get back to somewhat of normal. I love the nurses in the hospital there, and they were super helpful. They were very kind, but I feel like they did not prepare me whatsoever about what to expect when I got home. On certain aspects about what I'm about to tell you, they did tell me things like what to look out for if I need to go back to the hospital. Some things are an emergency that you need to go back. But how to get out of bed the first couple of days once you're home and you're getting off that medication, your numbness wears off and you're starting to feel your scar. Nobody told me how to properly get out the bed from laying down flat, because once you're in the hospital bed is like at an angle. It's easier for you to like move it with the remote to sit up. At home, you're laying down flat. You're just propped a little bit on your pillows at home, and you are literally laying flat trying to get up. And they say not to use your stomach muscles. In reality, you don't realize that basically everything you do, you use your stomach muscles. So you're trying not to use your stomach muscles, and that just is really difficult. So I had to Google a lot. I texted one of my friends because she had C-sections, and she kind of helped me. My husband was very supportive. He was there literally the whole time helping me, and I think that really played a big role in healing and literally day-to-day activities, along with trying to learn how to maneuver your body. I swole up my legs and feet. It was like literally very swollen. Nobody really prepares you for how swollen you can get once you're home. And after a couple of days after I swole up, it went away, so really wasn't too concerning. Taught me how to wash and care for my scar at the hospital, so that was easy enough to do at home. My husband did take a blow dryer for a couple of weeks and blew dry it dry on the cold setting, so my scar did leak. Thankfully, after about a couple of days, it went away, or less than a week. Now that I am home, everything is good. The baby's healthy, I'm healthy, we're back to normal. After going through an emergency C-section, I can say that I'm thankful and glad how everything went down. Even though it was very emotional, it did take an emotional and mental load. I'm just grateful that me and my baby did end up safe and healthy regardless of my plan. God's plan is always better. I did have an infection, I think behind my uterus or something. I don't really know where it was, but I did have an infection that was causing me and her to do what we were doing, and that's why I had the fever. I was heavily given antibiotics. I just thankful that I did have to end up doing an emergency C-section, even though that's not what I wanted. Baby's healthy and growing. I am able to breastfeed. I am moving a whole lot better. I'm 3 weeks postpartum. One thing, my sweet little nurse that was there with me the whole time, she knew that she knew that I didn't want to have a C-section, and she knew that that's not how I wanted my birth plan. Once I got back to the labor and delivery room, I think this is the most sweetest thing she ever told me or ever heard that day. She said, I know this is not how you wanted to have, how she said that. She said something in the words of like, I know this is not how you wanted your birth plan or your birth to go, and you can be upset about it, and it's okay. And I just felt like my feelings were valid. I felt like I was seen and I was heard, and that it's okay to be upset if that's not what you wanted. And once she told me that, I felt seen and heard. Once I was about to leave to go home, she came see me in my room, and she said, it's okay, you're gonna be okay. I'm gonna get through it. And she was just very comforting, and I think if I wouldn't have had her, it would have been different. But I'm glad she gave me those words and she was there for me. So it really matters who's there. Oof. Just want to encourage you moms who may not, I just want to encourage you moms, or if you're watching this video, that even though things might not go your way, it's the way God wanted it or needed it to happen. That everything's going to be okay in the end, and even though it wasn't your plan, just know that it's for the safety of you and your baby. If you stayed here to the end, thank you. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Go ahead and comment down below your birth story if you had something similar to mine. Thank you for watching this video. I am wanting to do a postpartum health journey, just a wellness journey for my 30s and what that looks like. If you're interested in stuff like that, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. That is something else I'm adding. Bye guys. Bye.